Hi, so yeah, I'm Nick Crane. I've just finished like the week at Posit conf. It's been a really awesome week. But actually, one of the talks that I saw that I really wanted to try out some of the stuff in it was by Tom Mock, and it was about using GitHub Copilot in RStudio. So I've got that set up, and I wanted to give a bit of a demo actually of what kind of I first found using it. So the first thing to note then is to set up Copilot. So I've installed the nightly version or the daily, whatever you call it, of RStudio. I think it's going to actually be out in the September version. But yeah, so anyway, in this version, if we go to kind of options down here, and all the way at the bottom we've got Copilot. So when you first go into this, it'll ask you to sign in and a few different things. But yeah, so I've enabled it, I've signed in, it's got me signed in as my GitHub username, and that's all set up. So I tried this a bit earlier, and actually one thing that I wanted to have a go with Copilot is an example of a simple function and writing tests for it. So let's try that out. So I remember in Tom's talk, he mentioned a lot of it is keeping things simple and keeping things in comments. So the first thing that I'm going to do is type out just the name, like a rough description of the thing that I want Copilot to do. So we can already see kind of at the bottom of the screen here, we've got this completion response received. So Copilot is doing stuff now. So extract the bucket name from an S3 URL. This is a problem I had to look at recently. Okay. So at the moment, actually, it's saying no completions available. If I hit enter and go into the next line, okay, so what it's done is, it's filled in actually a link to a Stack Overflow question. So let's take a look at that now. I've not actually looked at this page before. So let's see what's on that Stack Overflow page. So we'll give it a second. Okay, so that's interesting. That's opened something up entirely differently. So I'll just try it again. Okay, so I don't know if something's gone a little bit wrong there with the number, or maybe, Copilot is kind of hallucinating there. But that's fine. We don't need the Stack Overflow page, because I tried this earlier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go onto a new line, and it does do the same thing again there. But if I start typing a function name, so I'm going to call it extract and then underscore, and actually now it thinks and it fills in the rest of the function. Okay, so we've got this like function extract bucket name. It takes in a parameter called S3 URL, and it does kind of some string extraction stuff to return that. So I think that's pretty cool, right? We've got a whole function there just from starting typing kind of the function name. So the next thing that I was going to do is just go onto a new line and just see what else it wants to put in this this file for us. Okay, so it thinks I want to extract the key from an S3 URL. So let's try and see what it does there. Okay, so actually, this is repeating the same thing as before. So instead of doing that, I think what I'm going to do is let's try to put some comments in here. So let's firstly make some space. So that's pretty cool actually. So above the line of code there, it's automatically filled in a comment saying remove the S3 prefix. So let's add comments for each of those lines in this file now. Okay. Okay, cool. So I've made a function, it's filled everything in for me, but now actually if I was doing this in kind of like in real life, in a code base, I'd want to have some input validation. So I want to try and see if I can get Copilot to write me my input validation. So if I just do something really simple, like validate input, and let's see what it comes up with. Okay, so again, it's saying no completions available when I'm on that line, but maybe if I go to a new line. Okay, so that's cool. So if the S3 URL parameter isn't a character, then we get this error message. S3 URL must be a character string. So that's great, actually. I guess another thing is cool. I like the phrasing of this, so I'm quite a big fan of the kind of tidyverse style of thing, and this language that's got like must in it is kind of part of kind of writing a good error message, so I like that it's done that as well. Okay, so I wonder if there's any like other aspects of validation we can do here. So if I start typing validate, okay, so we've got validate input, which is fine. So let's see if it's going to do the same thing or something different now. Okay, so it's done another type of validation. That's really cool as well. So if the length of the URL is not 1, then we get this other message, the URL must be a single string. Cool. So actually, I'm just going to keep typing validate input and just seeing what happens here. Okay, so again, it's checking it starts with S3. Okay, so I might end up with like the most rigorously tested function possible here. This is cool. Last time I did this, I only validated 3 things. So let's see what it comes up with this time. Oh, wow. Okay. So now it's checking that we've only got one S3 in that URL. So actually, that's a bit excessive. That's a bit weird. But hey, it's rigorous. So I'm not going to go with that. So that's quite cool. I validated my input. So the next thing that I want to do, so I've written a function. It's got some input validation, which is really cool. Let's see if I can write some unit tests for it. So what's the function called? Extract bucket name. So if I go down here and type in, oh, okay, it's already said test the function. That is amazing. Okay, so it hasn't written a test that style test. It's literally written kind of some code where I can, manually, as a user test the function. So let's run that. Let's do it. Okay, so that's worked. But I like using the test that framework. So I am going to actually write some expectations. So if I load test that now, okay, cool. And then is it going to maybe fill in anything with expect? It says it's waiting for completions. Cool. So as soon as I've loaded the test that library, last time I tried this, I didn't do it this way, so this is really exciting for me. This is the first time I'm seeing this. It's writing me out a full unit test, so extract bucket name works, and we could have, oh my goodness, okay, so I guess a few things common. I don't love this test name. It's not specific enough as to what we're testing, and then we can kind of see here, it's repeated a lot of stuff kind of over and over again. So this first line, that's fine. It's doing a kind of like basic expecting that when we extract the bucket name from that URL, we get my bucket. That's great. The second line, that's good as well. Or is it actually? So we're expecting an error when we call that, but we shouldn't get an error when we call that. Okay, so that's not quite right. Like if we run this should fail. Yeah, so this fails. But let's use this as a starting point and just give it a bit of a hand. So let's delete those. Okay. So at the moment, it is trying to fill in that slightly dodgy expectation there, which is fine. So I'm going to say test. Oh, wow. Okay. This is so cool. So instantly, as soon as I wrote the word test there, it's saying test that it throws an error if the input is not a character string. Okay, so let's tab complete that and go into a new line. Okay, and now actually, that has written a much better expectation than it did before. So I'll run that, that's happy with that. So let's see how many other expectations it can fill in. Okay, test that it throws an error if the input is not a single string. Okay, so that's gone off the screen, but I'll make this a bit bigger. Okay, I'm going to select this, and if I do Control Shift and A, that'll just kind of make that a little bit nicer onto more lines. Sorry, I'm super fussy about formatting what's on my screen, so give me a moment to do this. In fact, let's do that. We're not. Okay, that's fine, Nick, that's fine. Okay, cool. So, yeah, so if we test this out now with a vector rather than a single string, and run that again, yeah, that's a perfectly cool expectation that works with the contents of the function. And again, let's test that it throws an error. Okay, if the input doesn't start with S3, cool. So, and again, these are all really feasible tests. This is really cool. Okay, now we've gone through all our validations, so let's see if it will suggest us any more tests to run. So I'm going to type a little bit and see what happens. Maybe change it, test it. Test it works with a bucket name that has a dot in it. Okay. Okay, I didn't even think of that, but that's cool. So now we've got mybucket.com. Will it actually extract that successfully? Okay, yeah, and it has. So actually, this is really cool. Now, this is creating test conditions that are actually going beyond what we've got kind of embedded in the code. This is let's see what else we want to test. Okay, yeah, some more along the same theme. I'm getting a little bit bored of this actually, so I might stop shortly. So again, that works. We'll do one more of these. So it was interesting actually okay, then it's going to combine them. But it was interesting actually finding that varying like a little bit of the words in that sentence. So we went from like test that something to test it. So actually, I wonder if I type test if that'll do something completely different. Okay, so it's going down the same train of thought as I had before. Okay, we will do one more because that was just a combination of the previous two. So now we are getting, okay, so we've got repetitive, but actually this is really nice actually, like this is generating like lots of different test conditions, so this is cool. So actually, even if I didn't want to use this for generating the original function, it's pretty nice for the testing. One thing that I did try before actually that I haven't done here, so I might have a go, is I wanted to see if I could get Copilot to be a bit more specific about what functions it's using. So in this example here, we're using base R functions, which is great, but actually, how can I try to get Copilot to use, say, I want to use string R for my character extraction. Let's just try that now. So if again, I don't think this will work. Let's see. So if I call string R here, so maybe if I was like using string R, extract the bucket name from an S3 URL. Okay, let's see what happens. Okay, so no completions. Okay, that's fine. That's a little bit of a complicated sentence. Yeah, I mean, I wonder if I can write Roxygen headers. Okay, so that looks like it's trying to document that parameter there. That's not a Roxygen header. That's a completely different style of comment. But if let's have a look. Okay, so that's not gonna, I'm gonna start writing my own. Okay, that's cool. So I started to write it, and actually now it is starting to fill in the Roxygen header. So this is perfect. You know, that's that first line that I'd expect there. So let's tab complete that. Let's see what we get next. Okay. Cool. So we've even got like the parameter there. Nice. Yeah, it's got a nice, good description of what the parameter is. Okay, nice. And the return, that's lovely. Anything else? Okay, we're going to go into examples. Nice. And it gives an example, and it's the same example it's used in the test. So yeah, I'm quite impressed with this. Like, I did do a run through before recording this, but a lot of this is totally live reaction. Yeah, so I'm quite impressed with this. I'm still kind of curious about how this would look in my day-to-day workflow. So this example here was me creating a function from scratch. It's a fairly simple function. It's a problem that's been solved, you know, quite a lot of people by a lot of people in different places. So one of the things that I actually might try is see if this can handle working in a more complicated code base, an existing code base where I'm making changes rather than coding things from scratch. Yeah, I'm actually really impressed with this example. This was really cool.